And now I promised you that I will show you where this presentation is and where actually everything is. So that is the most important part. I will just open a new tab in my browser and I start typing downloads.openmicroscopy.org, yes? And maybe Wilmore can ping it in the chat.
Yeah, I did that already. Yeah.
Yes, great, thank you. So either you do the long way as I do, but you can see that I'm clicking myself through 2021 and McGill. Now 2021 is obvious. This is this year. McGill is obvious as well. Under this folder, there is the presentation. Okay, so let me click on that folder. Now you try, that's the presentation I showed you. So if you go through that by clicking on this right button, you will have the presentation in your hand immediately with no downloads on your part, okay? And you can click on the links there. Very good. So I'm back in that folder. And there is also another entity, which is a PDF, this red sign here. And it says McGill University 2021 OMERO workshop. And you can navigate from there to the workshop. And the summary is actually almost the most important part. So that's day one, which we want to start with today. And it says import using desktop application. That's the most logical part, but because this is the hands-on, it will probably take the most time. But let's get on with that. And then after that, we will go into OMERO Web. So the OMERO core concepts will be done in OMERO Web in your browser. Yeah, but the import must be done, as we said, using desktop application called OMERO.insight. Then tomorrow in day two, we will mainly deal with Fiji and then OMERO Parade and OMERO Figure. By the way, whatever you do, if you are completely bored by the workshop or whatever, then make sure that you will see this OMERO Figure part. Yeah, it's on the program at the end of day two. Okay, and if you scroll down in this walkthrough, there is a program again, meaning the step-by-step, and there is the import part, which we will start with. There is a video which you hopefully know, maybe, possibly, because it was sent by McGill to you via email. And this says how to import the images using OMERO.insight. And then also, nevertheless, we have also a guide. Okay, it's highlighted in the video as well. And you can navigate to it by clicking on here. But as I said, these are OMERO guides. Okay, so you can just go back to the docs. You can see that's where it is. Yeah, so upload data, import image data, and it says step by step, things like that. And then there is also command line import, bulk import, in place import. We can talk about it. Usually these are questions which comes through when we do the OMERO.insight import. Maybe you are interested, maybe not. What is there to say about it is that the OMERO.insight import is using something which we call graphical user interface. If you never did any programming or any computing, that's what you think is computing. Basically, kind of always a window where there is plenty of buttons and drop-down menus, and so this is what is called graphical user interface. But you have also other means how to do stuff. Which would be the command line interface, where there is just a prompt and you can type some commands. Okay, so if you are not scared about the command line, then there are some ways how to achieve import here as well, and this would probably be more interesting for the, so to say, super users like facility managers here, etc. That would be for the introduction. If there are no questions for the introduction, let me ask a question. Did you manage to install OMERO.insight, please? I can see one, oh great, one thumbs up. That sounds fantastic. Who of you is on Mac as opposed to Windows? I suppose that, wow, so many hands up. Maybe that was the answer to question who is on Mac. Yeah, so maybe I shot myself in the foot. we had a small glitch in the Mac. I hope that you got the second email. Sorry about that. This should be just fine, actually. If I go to, I will try to mock install OMERO.insight for you so that you, if you kind of got lost, okay, if you got lost during the import, that's the during the install, that's the moment where to start asking questions, okay? I do it via the guide, okay? I go again, open the import guide, and I'm told here that there is some setup and that I need to go to a page which looks like this, okay? Which is saying OMERO 5 downloads. And there is a part for Windows, but because I'm sitting on Mac, I can of course show you only Mac. And if I do that, I go to the OpenMicroscopy website. That's actually a way to do that as well. At least I can remember it like that better. And under products, there is OMERO, and then there is a download version. Now we are at OMERO 5.6, yeah. And this header OMERO clients, I think we should be more precise there. It basically actually describes OMERO.insight now. Okay, so these are OMERO.insight, OMERO.insight for Windows in 2 versions, OMERO.insight for Mac and OMERO.insight for Linux. And I grabbed the Mac one. I click on the download, which you hopefully did, and my Firefox will start downloading, but it will take a long time. Okay. And if I have it here though already, something like that, I can, yeah, I can wait or something. But then I click on that, on the downloaded thing, and a new window of my Finder appears, something like this, and then something like this. Yeah, it will look like that, and I will have to open a new, yet another window of my Finder with applications. Yeah, let me clean it a little bit. And then I drag and drop from this window of the Finder, which opens after it's downloaded, okay? I drag it and drop it into applications. That's quite a manual step. And if you are a Mac user, you might be used to something else. And then a new line opens in my applications, yeah? Now, I guess there were plenty of thumbs up saying that I'm actually boring you right now with the install because you managed to do that already. So if you are not the case and you are drowning in the install, then you bombard Will more in the chat, and I will just try to start it. So I'm having here the OMERO.insight, as I said, and you double click on the application and it's already jumping here, right? Okay, actually the DMG just downloaded. So let me go back, just like nothing happened. I just downloaded it, okay? I filled the time with a lot of blah, blah. There is OMERO.insight DMG in my downloads folder. I click on that and it shows opening OMERO.insight 5.16 GMG. So that's basically the install after fresh download finishing. And that's what I was just talking you through, okay? And you can actually click on the icon already here, or you can drag and drop it into application. That is all what is there to it. And because I've done that already, then let me go back, double click on that. On Windows, the situation is a little bit different. The exe file is easier to download, install if you don't have full powers on your computer. The other file on which is available for Windows for download on OMERO.insight installs the Insight for all the users on the computer. Now, that's the moment when we start to import. So I double clicked on the OMERO.insight line in the applications folder of my Mac, and I see a splash screen like that. And now that's really a moment where we have to kind of get some feedback for you. Who is not seeing that on their own local machine? Who is not seeing that? Who is drowning? Who is just lost and in despair also? You are not seeing that. Okay, let me check. Are there many problems in the chat, Will?
Nope.
Okay, so can you tell us what your problem is? You just raised your hand and said you don't see that. Hello? Yeah, can you unmute and just tell us what's wrong?
Yes, I'm trying to type it. So I can download it. I put it in my application folder, but when I open it, it says OMERO.insight cannot be opened because the developer cannot be verified.
That's an excellent question. Thank you. I will just show you that, okay?
Okay.
So
Peter, you are muted.
Sorry, that's an excellent question, and thank you very much for that. Under circumstances, they are basically, this is a MAC question, yeah? There are 3 layers of security on MAC, and you can navigate to them like so. There is a system preferences on your Mac. Either I have it in my dock, or you can go, I think, via the Apple icon on the top left of your Mac and click on system preferences. So let's do it like that. It jumps up, and then you need security and privacy, okay? If you do that, then you have a widget like that here, okay? And I don't have it here because I didn't get this warning, but you did. You
Yes.
did get this warning, and your lower part of this widget looks a little bit different. It also says allow apps downloaded from, but it has much more blah blah. It says something about OMERO.insight, and there is a button saying open anyway.
I
Okay.
see that button and I will press it now.
Yes, yes. Don't worry, OMERO.insight is safe. So this basically is your Mac telling you, I'm not so sure about this OMERO.insight. Are you really sure for me to install that and run the application, which you just downloaded from internet? Yeah. And if you do so, then there will be one more warning dialog. You just say open, and the things will start going on. Okay, I hope that we understand that. If you still have questions, then or not getting forward, just just tell us. I will now ask you again, as we are at this stage, if you are sure about what credentials are yours. Okay. By credentials, we mean username and password, okay? Your username will look something like user dash and X. The X will be a number. The number will be between 1 and 50, okay? Michael was so nice to distribute them to you. Are you clear about what your username is? If not, then ask questions, raise your hand or whatever, yeah? That's the first thing. But even before we get to username and password, we have to sort out the server. Okay, so as we said, the OMERO.insight is a local application, in this case running on my Mac, and this will need to connect to OMERO server. Okay, so if I come to a freshly downloaded OMERO.insight like yourself, I will probably just see something like that. Okay, that will be the situation which you, ladies and gentlemen, see in front of you. If you click on this spanner icon, okay, on that splash screen, you will probably have written, there will be localhost standing here for you. You click on this spanner, and that's what you will be confronted with. That's all, yeah? So basically, it suggests that the only server you are able to connect to is a localhost. This would mean the locally run OMERO server, which you, of course, don't have, okay? Now, you have to add a new server in the list, and this is done by clicking the plus here, and the server address is outreach.openmicroscopy.org. Yeah, make sure that you don't make a typo. And now it's in the list. Okay, that's what you please do as well. That's the same for Windows or Mac or even Linux. Okay, and then you click apply. And then you will have in this line outreach.openmicroscopy.org. If this line doesn't say outreach.openmicroscopy.org, don't bother with putting in your credentials and pressing this button. It will not work. It must say outreach, okay? Okay, So we are clear about the credentials, yeah? And the password is as is, okay? If you are not sure about it, you can ask whoever. And I click on login, okay? And this is the desktop application connecting to the server, which is here in Dundee, okay? So did everybody manage to do that? Did you manage to log in? Yes, thank you. Oh, nice, very nice. A lot of thumbs up here as well. Excellent. Again, what we need, of course, more is, yeah, your positive feedback is greatly appreciated. But
So,
if you are drowning, then yes.
there's a couple of no's in the chats there.
Okay, how many?
2, so 3. I see 4.
Okay, so just start typing into the chat no and what, meaning like no because the error message was failed to log in because we need to hear that.
So
Okay,
there's a okay. If someone said server's not responding, or
that is, so server is not responding would be double check that your address is correct. The server address says outreach.microscopy.org. This is number one. Number two, just repeat the workflow, restart the OMERO.insight and try to go again. Okay. And if you have something about username and password, then you made a typo in your username and password, of course, in the error message. But yeah, just keep trying, yeah, and always remember what is the answer. Like failed to log in because what? Okay. The server not responding might possibly be also a reaction to a choppy internet connection on your side, I am afraid, because a lot of people managed to connect. Right. So, still struggling? I will now go and tell you about the import steps in themselves. Yeah, so we are in OMERO.insight. Here is written who is connected to what server. And I click on the fifth icon from the left. This is an upward facing arrow. It's a blue arrow which is pointing to the kind of OME logo. If I click on that, then a new window opens and this is the importer. Okay. Now, I will just, let's say, navigate to here. And then I can go and say, Edinburgh 2020. That's a bad idea. So basically, I'm browsing my local hierarchy in this on this Mac, and I can select some images, and I can do that like so. I can, let's say, select these simple screenshots. They are small. That's why I like them, because we don't want to import really big data now, because we are doing it all in parallel. And there are really quite an awesome number of people. Thank you very much for attending. And I can select one or more images in my local hierarchy. And then I click on this arrow which faces to the right, and this opens the import location window. Okay. And this says in which group I am and for whom am I importing. Okay. Now, in OMERO, we have two levels of hierarchy: projects and datasets. Okay, so these are basically two containers, and datasets can be contained by projects. And you can select an existing project to import to, like so, or you can select an existing data set to import to, or you can select even first a project and then, of course, see the data set which are specifically under that project and import right into the data set. But I'm not going to do any of that. I will just keep the new from folder here. And this is basically taking the name of the folder from which I'm importing from the local hierarchy, from the local machine, and creating a new data set for me in Omero and putting the images into that data set. So I add them to the queue. These are just 2 images. I click import. It's preparing the import, and the first phase is the upload. We have 2 blue bars there. Upload means basically the image gets copied from this local Mac to that server, just as it is. This means the original file of the image. And then in the processing phase, there are things like creation of a thumbnail for that image in Omero. The bioformats will read the metadata and put those as appropriate in the relational database, creating the objects for the image, such as the image object in the relational database and any other things which might be of use, and which bioformats we're able to read from the original file. And this is what is happening in the second blue bar. Okay, so this is kind of like Omeroizing the image. But the important point here is to understand that by Omeroizing, we don't mean that the image will be transformed into another format. The image will be in the original format stored in Omero, and then it will be read on the fly. So we don't have any intermediary format inside Omero which kind of transforms your image into something else and then works with that further. No, that's not the case. Okay.
Peter, you might just want to explain the usernames that we've all set up. A couple of people are confused that they've logged into someone else's account or something.
Okay, that's great. We will do that in Omero Web though, okay? Don't be confused. If you think that you did the right thing, then you probably did the right thing, okay? Try to, you can always log out by clicking on the top left, the big red button on the Mac, of course, but on Windows, there will be just something like a cross. It might be on the top left or top right, and you close the application and log in again after you double click on it again from the place where you started, and then you are not sure. Please never log in. If you did the mistake that you logged in as trainer 1, don't do that. Really log out and log in as user such and such, okay? It's only me who is logging in as trainer 1. So if you are user so, then just please try to retrieve the number which you have been distributed to. I think user 49 is free. I'm user 49, and then I log in like so. Okay, now I know that I'm user 49, but it says that it's Tonegawa here, okay? So that might be something which is completely confusing you, and don't be confused by that, just live with that. I will explain that in a second when we go to Omero Web, okay? And I will import again very quickly now as Tonegawa, and let's say tuck and tuck, and this time I will create a new data set and I will call it second import with a typo, but so be it. Add to the queue, import, okay. Again, 2 bars, I already spoke you through that. Very good. And then I would expect that the newly imported image will, with the data set called second import, appear here, okay? But this is not so. Why? Because I didn't click the refresh button. So the imports will not appear until you click the refresh button. This is because the idea is that as you are working feverishly on something else and you are very concentrated on this tree, you don't want the new imports which you are running in the background to pop constantly into here and disturb your concentration. So you click on the refresh and you can see that the thing jumped and a new line appeared here, second import, and these are the two new overwhelming images. These are just screenshots. Yeah, but that's why it's so fast. If you, of course, ventured to import something more demanding, you might still be in the first progress bar, but we warned you about that. Yeah? That's fine. Remember, please, that you are importing from Canada to Europe. Okay, so your images are going through the wire from Canada to Europe. So think about that. Okay, it might under circumstances be quite slow. Now, having done that, we can go and start logging into OMERO Web. Okay, I just said we do quick import in OMERO.insight, and then we go to OMERO Web. How to do that? We will, I will open a new tab in my browser and go to the same address. I will start typing outreach.openmicroscopy.org. Okay, or indeed you can click on some links which, as they appear in the chat, on some, well, of course, on the outreach link, and be confronted inside your browser. I'm using Firefox. You can, as I said, Chrome, Edge, Safari will work fine. And I'm logging in again. I said user 49 in my case, okay. And then very good. So who is this person, and why is it not user 49? Well, it's not true. It is user 49. It's just that the first name is highlighted here, and the second name is Tonegawa. Okay. And these are basically three pieces of information which are connected together. So user 49 is a login name, and in a normal world or more normal world, this is not a normal world, this is a workshop world, okay? So this is a teaching environment we are in all together, and it's streamlined to be a teaching environment, and all the quirks apply, of course, of teaching environment. The situation here is that you have, let's say, typically a login name such as S. Tonegawa. That would be quite typical, or C. Brown. Okay, that would be another typical. So the first initial of your first name, and then you would have your full family name attached to that without any space. And that would be something which you would maybe obtain from your institution, because OMERO can synchronize with the institutional login system. So as you are entering your computers in McGill University, you will probably also need to put in username and password every morning. And OMERO is able to synchronize this information between those passwords in McGill and the OMERO passwords, usernames and passwords. Yeah, but maybe not. I'm not sure how it will work or does work in McGill OMERO world, but that's the possibility. And in the training situation, we have another case here. We simply have the username, the login name, a little bit less logical from the normal world perspective. It's not S. Tonegawa, because we would never get our head around that when we are distributing those names. Okay, that's why it's user 49. I think you can see the convenience which comes like that for us. So once more to emphasize, so I'm Tonegawa, and this is highlighted on the top right. Okay, so this is my first name and the second name. As I said, my login name is user 49, right? And on the top left is highlighted whose data I'm viewing. That might be the same, but it doesn't have to, okay? Because in Omero, we have the cooperation aspect. Let's start with that, as you were confused about who is who and who am I, okay? So once more, in Omero Web, on the top right is written, who am I, okay? In OMERO.insight, just not to be confused, that is written on the very top bar, okay? So, I'm again Suzanne Tonegawa, connected to outreach.OpenMicroscopyorg in OMERO.insight. If I jump to my browser into Omero Web, that's what it's on the top right in Omero Web, okay? So, and I'm viewing the data of Suzanne Tonegawa, and I just can see that I have imported successfully those two screenshots. Yeah, I can see them, of course, in Omero Web as well. Yeah, because this is a second mean, this is a web-based application, which is kind of to be seen as a window, which from your local environment, in this case, my local Firefox, is viewing the data inside the Omero server. And I just imported them from the OMERO.insight using the OMERO.insight. Yeah, so this is basically the same thing. And I can now do a second step. I can import for somebody else. Okay, I'm back in OMERO.insight. You cannot do that. Just trust me that this is possible. You can play with your own imports, creating new data sets and projects as you see fit. Okay, and without importing too much. We warned you about that. Just explore the various formats, etc., and see how it goes for you. Okay, so I will just quickly explain to you that you can import for somebody else if you see fit, if you are in a position of power. So this can be done. And you can see immediately that as Suzanne Tonegawa, I'm not in position of power, because as I wanted to import those two images for somebody else, I can't. I have here only the menu group, okay? But if I am in position of power, such as if I log out and log in as string 1, okay. Okay. So this is a little bit more powerful user, which can do actions for another user. This can be an administrator on the Omero system, or administrator with restricted privileges. And you can see that suddenly I have now two drop-down menus. I have the lab, and I have the import for. Okay, so the group is the lab, and Suzanne Tonegawa also had a drop-down menu called Lab 1. Lab 2, etc., which are the groups of which the particular user which is logged in is a member of, okay? And Suzanne Tonegawa and yourself can indeed import into all those different groups, not at once, but one by one using this graphical user interface. And I can import for myself, or indeed I can import again for Suzanne Tonegawa. Oh, sorry, this is actually Susuma Tonegawa. And then I click on the dialog and say trainer 1 for Susuma Tonegawa. Just to be clear what is happening here. So I will create on the import state a new project, okay? Highlighting that I'm importing for somebody else. I pop those two screenshots to the right-hand side. That's not what I want. Well, this one is better. Okay, so again, the new data set will be created, which is called desktop. Okay, I import those three screenshots. Very good. And then I go to Omero Web. I will not lose my time with OMERO.insight anymore. And I am going right to the portfolio of Susan Tonegawa because Susuma Tonegawa. That's because I'm logged in already, like as Susuma Tonegawa. Okay, so not as importer, not as trainer one. And I refresh the tree, and I can see here a new project which is called trainer one for Susuma Tonegawa, and there is a dataset underneath which is called desktop. And I can see that the 3 of those 4 screenshots were already imported. Now, the important part here is to remember that it's indeed trainer 1 did an action for Susuma Tonegawa. This means that the project belongs to Susuma Tonegawa, although it was created on the creating agent here was trainer 1 in Insight. Okay, so although the creation was done by trainer 1, the project still belongs to Susuma Tonegawa, to the target user. So is the data set, and so are the images inside the data set. Okay, so this is import for somebody else. That's what you can do in OMERO.insight if you are a more powerful user. So how are you doing with your imports? Can we now, let's say, very good, very good. Yeah, is anybody?
Peter, can I just ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're the head of the lab, let's say, could you import a data set for the entire lab? So for the entire group, I guess, in the OMERO vocabulary?
There is no such thing as an object being owned by multiple people, if this is your question. Okay, the thing to go about such workflow, the way to go about such workflow, and this could be actually a good sequel to the next part, is to use the provisions of our clients, which are called all members here.
Right.
Okay, so OMERO insists on ownership on a single unique ownership, meaning one object has one single owner. This pays for data sets, this pays for projects, this pays for images. So I can't co-own an image with Will. Okay, it's just not possible. It's either Will or me. But if the lab owner imports the data for somebody, okay, and they either don't care or they don't remember for whom did they imported that, they can still go to all members here. And actually, you can see that I can do it as Susuma Tonegawa as well. Can you see all the data which popped down? I mean, each of those entities here have one single owner. Okay, in this case, it's Charles Darwin. Okay, this will be somebody like user 2. Also, this is quite a high number user. And I can expand the data here. I can see the images and etc. etc. So that's the way to work with that. Typically, one thing to remark, of course, is we have also provisions for changing ownerships of objects. Let's say if the person leaves the lab, then you want to pass the ownership of the objects in OMERO, such as images, etc., on somebody who is overtaking that project, and that can be achieved using the command line interface. Okay, so there could be passed a command saying pass the objects of the person A to the person B in the entirety. Okay, or pass object X of person A to person B. Okay, so the ownership will change in such case, and then the appropriate drop-down menus, of course, will respect that. And in such case, if I, let's say, change the ownership from Susuma Tonegawa to somebody else, then of course it will not appear under the portfolio of Susuma Tonegawa anymore. Instead, it will pop up in, let's say, trainer 1's portfolio. Okay. But as I said, if you are confused about where is it, if it's still within this group, okay, then you can go to all members. So that's how you can kind of work with that. Also, the owner of the group is typically in the real world the PI, the group leader, which you just mentioned,
and all lab members have read access to all data within that lab.
That is not necessarily true.
Okay, but in this case, on this server, I also see your second import, for example.
That's correct. You will see everything because so let's just explain that properly. The thing which Michael just helpfully mentioned is the permission system of OMERO, which allows you to create groups. We are members of one group, and you can see already here on the top left, it's lab 1. It's so to say our default group. This means that this is the group which will pop up on display every time we use OMERO.insight or OMERO web. Okay, we are members of more groups though. We are members of group lab 2, lab 3, and lab 4. Okay. And you can see if I click on the top left on the drop-down menu that the lab 1 has kind of 2 people there. One is black. This is kind of me, Susuma Tonegawa, and the other is kind of amber. Okay, you can think about this as the traffic light coding. Okay, so amber means like middle powers. Okay, and this is so-called read annotate groups. So we are also together in a read annotate group. What does it mean? It means exactly what it says on the tin. Read, meaning, as you just said, Michael, we can see each other's data. You can see any import of anyone who done here in this workshop. Yeah. And we can annotate each other's data. So if you see it fit, Michael, then you can go to the data of Susuma Tonegawa. This is kind of me in this scenario, and annotate them, put tags on my images or key value pairs, etc., as you see fit. Okay, so this is a read annotate environment. It always describes the action which you can do on other people's data. With your own data, you can do whatever you see fit, including deletion of the own data. By the way, don't delete anything though on that server. Yes, please. Okay, is that clear, ladies and gentlemen? If you choose something to delete, then please do delete the images you imported. Okay, and this is maybe a good time to tell you you are in a good position. There is not much workshop in the back tail of this one, and we will keep this environment for you up as it is for 14 days. Okay, from today. So 14 days from today, you will still be able to log in, import, etc. But